Thank you for listening to Depictions Media Radio. Welcome to Policy and Rights, the show about government policy and human rights. And welcome back to Policy and Rights here in Depictions Media Radio. I am your host, Michael Clogs, and we're going to hear from the United Nations, and it is the beginning of the month, and we're going to actually hear from the new president of the UN Security Council, and the press conference held by Carolyn Rodrigues-Birkett of Guyana, as she will take the presidency of the Security Council. And remember, there's still issues, very, very big issues on the floor, that between Israel and Palestine. We still have conflict going on between Ukraine and the Russian Federation. There's still lots of problems to be solved around the world that would involve the UN Security Council and how they're going to move forward to resolve maybe at least one of those conflicts or issues. There are still issues around crimes of war and how they're being directed, especially against not only civilians but female civilians, when things like rape are still part of warfare. They're considered to be a war crime, but they're still part of the warfare. How do we find equality for everyone, no matter race, creed, gender, or selected gender? How do we allow people to be the individuals that they should be? And there's a lot to be work to be done on all fronts, and we'll see how, with the new president for February of Guyana's Ms. Rodrigues-Birkett, in which she's going to find values in, and how she's going to help the Security Council move forward for the month of February. Meanwhile, we're from the press floor, we're still going to hear about, of course, UNRWA and Myanmar, issues going on there, as things are trying to settle out, and they're trying to get released from prison certain political figures and former leaders of Myanmar, and how things are going to move forward with that. And there's still other issues around the world, and as we reported yesterday, a release of POWs between Russia and the Ukraine, as citizens and residents of their prospective countries, whether they were Russian or Ukrainian, have been returned home and welcomed back to their families. So why don't we push forward? We'll hear from the press floor first, and then let's listen to the new president of the Security Council.
To all of you. Just want to give you an update on Myanmar. You saw our statement yesterday, and today is the anniversary of the military takeover. And I just want to focus a bit on the fact that our humanitarian colleagues are trying to meet people's needs wherever they are, as fighting continues across multiple fronts, including heavy fighting in Rakhine State. The Office for the Coordination of Humanitarian Affairs tells us that humanitarian workers were able to assist more than 3 million people last year, but that is not enough. They need both greater access and drastic improvements in funding to access the most vulnerable people in Myanmar. More than 18 million people need humanitarian aid, up from 1 million just before the military takeover. Our OCHA colleagues tell us that sustained underfunding of both the humanitarian and development operations in Myanmar has led to significant unmet needs that are now cascading into 2024. Humanitarian organizations are asking for a record $994 million to support the response in Myanmar. That's for 2024. The situation demands immediate attention and increased international support to address both the humanitarian and development challenges facing the civilian population. Quick update for you on the situation in Gaza. The Office for the Coordination of Humanitarian Affairs informs us that that fighting is continuing in southern Gaza, including in Khan Yunis. The UN Relief and Works Agency, UNRWA, reports that some 184,000 people had registered for humanitarian assistance yesterday in the western outskirts of Khan Yunis after they were displayed from Khan Yunis city in recent days amid evacuation orders and continued hostilities. Along those displaced, UNRWA itself had to move part of its operation from western Khan Yunis city and is now reestablishing operations in the outskirts of that area. Due to constant hostilities, the scale of explosive contamination in Gaza requires urgent action. The UN Mine Action Service continues to provide explosive ordnance disposal support to ensure the safe passage of convoys. Last week, the UN Mine Action Service supported 3 convoys to the north, including 2 food convoys and 1 fuel delivery to Shifa Hospital. In addition, 2 explosive threat assessments were conducted in Khan Yunis, including one at the Khan Yunis Training Center, which, as you will recall, was hit last week. Moving to the situation on the borders along the Blue Line between Lebanon and Israel, our peacekeepers are informing us that they continue to carry out their tasks, including patrols and other activities, amid daily exchanges of fire along that Blue Line. The UN peacekeeping force in southern Lebanon, UNIFIL, also remains actively engaged with the authorities on both sides to try to de-escalate the situation. Yesterday, the head of the UN mission and the force commander, Lieutenant General Aroldo Lazzaro, held a meeting with Lebanese caretaker Prime Minister Najib Mikati and General Joseph Aoun, who is the commander of the Lebanese armed forces. The head of the UN peacekeeping mission, General Lazzaro, underscored the significance of de-escalating tensions in southern Lebanon and the region and the imperative of fully implementing Security Council Resolution 1701, as well as working towards a political and diplomatic solution that is crucial to reestablish stability. Turning to Ukraine, our humanitarian friends tell us that new attacks on the east have injured civilians and damaged civilian infrastructure. Yesterday in Kharkiv City, a hospital was damaged in an attack, with several people injured and many evacuated. That's what the National Rescue Service of Ukraine is telling us. A health facility also sustained damage in Toretstown in the Donetsk region, as reported by the regional administration. In frontline areas, our humanitarian colleagues note that the continued hostilities in the Donetsk and Kherson regions of Ukraine are continuing to kill and injure civilians. Homes, educational facilities, public transport, water, electricity, and health facilities, among others, have continue to be damaged. That's according to what local authorities are telling us. Our humanitarian colleagues add that the humanitarian hub run by a local NGO in Kherson City was hit today. Despite challenges of operating in frontline areas, aid organizations continue to provide assistance. In recent days, we, along with our humanitarian partners, have provided emergency repair materials as well as psychosocial and legal support in the Donetsk and Kharkiv regions. And in the Democratic Republic of the Congo, peacekeepers are continuing to do their utmost to protect civilians in North Kivu amid ongoing clashes between the M23 rebel group and the armed forces of the Democratic Republic of the Congo. As we mentioned a few days ago, the UN mission established a temporary presence in Mweso following clashes in that area. Peacekeepers have also created a humanitarian corridor, which has allowed more than 1,000 displaced men, women, and children to move to safer grounds. The UN mission is also continuing to protect and provide medical assistance to displaced communities taking refuge near its base in Kichanga, which is about 15 kilometers away from Mweso. Additionally, the peacekeeping mission reports they helped evacuate to Goma 8 Congolese soldiers that were wounded in the fighting with the M23. And as you can imagine, we're continuing to monitor the situation very closely. You know what week starts today? Interfaith Harmony Week. It is an opportunity to recognize the imperative need for dialogue amongst different faiths and religions to enhance mutual understanding, harmony, and cooperation among people, and we need that more than ever. Kumbaya, as they say. Honor roll, little quiz for you. It's not about me this time, so I know.
Oh, but we studied up about
I know, exactly. Okay, this European country has the oldest reported flag in the world, which is 800 years old. Boom, boom, boom. They make cheese there? They make, well, who doesn't make cheese? It's Denmark. Denmark, all right. And this country has one of the oldest trees in Europe. The Stelmoes oak is reported to be 1,500 years old. Yes, it's not Denmark. We've done Denmark. We thank them. We took the money from Copenhagen. That is Lithuania. Yeah, so we say thank you to our friends in Vilnius. And the origins of the game of chess can be traced back to this Asian country in the 6th century. India. So we thank our friends in New Delhi as well. And you all failed, but Maggie, you failed the least, so, yeah, or the most, I don't know.
failed equally.
Yeah.
I believe you said there was an assessment team that was trying to go to northern Gaza. Was it supposed to be yesterday? Did it happen?
There was a, I didn't say, I don't know if I said,
feel like
I
you
can't
said
remember
it
what I said
yesterday,
yesterday. But what I can tell you is that James is taking a seat.
Yes. Latecomers to the
For a TV reporter, he knows really well how to cross the camera to make sure everybody sees it. Yes, yeah. You're like the Queen. You're never late. Everybody's just early. Yeah. Her late Majesty, excuse me.
assessment team.
Yes, sorry. A first reconnaissance mission is in process both yesterday and today to the north. The mission aims to ascertain the current security and logistical conditions in the north to better understand the actual environment on which future aid deliveries to the north might take place.
Okay.
But this is, I know there's been a lot of discussion about the assessment mission that was announced a few weeks ago. This is really just the first step in doing a real assessment mission. It's I guess you would do the reconnaissance mission, then you do the assessment mission.
Okay. Another question. Given the unprecedented number of journalists who've been killed in the Israel-Hamas war, what are the Secretary General's concerns, and is there any action that the UN can take to better shield or protect journalists covering this and other conflicts?
Well, let's be honest. On the ground, I don't think there is any action we can take. We are our humanitarian workers are like journalists and are in the front lines and have paid for with their lives. We know of more than 150 of our colleagues have perished in this conflict. We have raised repeatedly, publicly, privately, our concern about journalists, their ability to do their work out of fear, free from fear, and free from the threat to their own personal lives. As in any conflict, the role of journalists is critical to public opinion, to the world, getting a view to what is going on the ground.
And can I just ask one on UNRWA? About a dozen Republican senators have sent a letter to the majority and minority leaders at the Congress, U.S. Congress, demanding that any supplemental budget package that's passed include, quote, an immediate and permanent prohibition against U.S. contributions to UNRWA. Has the Secretary General called anyone on the Hill since this situation unfolded?
We've seen these reports. We're obviously in touch with the U.S. government. As I mentioned to you, I think the Secretary General met with the permanent representative of the U.S. A few days ago. They discussed the issue. The Secretary General engaged extensively with the major UNRWA donors 2 evenings ago, if I recall. That meeting lasted more than 2 hours, where he listened to their concerns, tried to address their concerns, and made it very clear the swift action that we are taking.
The U.S. is the biggest donor, and there's a lot of money in jeopardy. So has anyone on your team made any particular congressional outreach?
I think UNRWA also has a liaison office in Washington. I know they're fully seized of the matter. Ibtisam.
Do you have any comments on Haaretz reporting that, the Israeli newspaper Haaretz reporting that Israeli army occupies Gaza homes and then burns them down? And according to the newspaper, we're talking about hundreds of homes that were burned down after the soldiers left them.
Look, I think we've been very public in our condemnation of the destruction of civilian infrastructure, and I think it is critical that the Israeli authorities respect international humanitarian law and international law during this operation. Evelyn and then James.
Did you find it? Thank you. Okay, thank you, Stefan. On Myanmar, I know there's no chance of getting an arms embargo, or China would veto it, but at least, is it possible to have a statement, at least from the Secretary General, discouraging countries from giving that government weapons?
Well, I don't think we've ever encouraged increased military aid to that country. Your second question.
No, I mean, to discourage it. Okay, the second question is to follow up what Maggie said. Have any of our people in Washington, whether it's UNRWA or our office there, reached the Republicans? Because the ambassador here is not a Republican, and it would be good to calm them down.
As I told Maggie, there is an UNRWA office in Washington, and they're fully seized of this issue. James.
Following up on Maggie's question, there was a meeting yesterday between the U.S. Secretary of State and Sigrid Kaag. Mm-hmm. I've seen a State Department readout. Can you give us the UN's view on what that meeting achieved?
I haven't had a chance to speak to Sigrid's team this morning. This is part of her briefing a number of member states on the work and on her first initial go-around.
But one assumes that she would have been making the case in that meeting for UNRWA and for the US lifting its suspension as soon as possible.
As I said, I will try to share with you a readout.
Okay. That's it for now. I do have another one.
Oh, thank you.
I've forgotten it.
We'll go to Dulcie, and then we'll come back to, we'll go to screen after that.
On Myanmar, is there any progress on a personal envoy being named?
The process is ongoing. Once progress has been achieved and we're ready to announce, we shall do it.
So you do have a pool of candidates?
We are looking at numerous candidates.
Okay, and over to Gaza and UNRWA. So in the transcript last night, you say that Philippe Lazzarini actually flew from Jerusalem to New York to talk to the Secretary General personally.
Mm-hmm.
It looks like on January 22nd. You said on Monday.
That's correct.
How long was he here talking to the Secretary General about this problem?
He was in New York, I don't know, New York 1 or 2 days. I think I saw him on Tuesday. I mean, how long did the meeting last? I don't know. But I mean, they had a substantive conversation.
So this was after Lazzarini was told by the Israeli Foreign Ministry that they had a list of...
This was after UNRWA was given information by the Israeli Foreign Ministry, and then UNRWA cross-checked the information and the names they were given. Then Mr. Lazzarini came here to brief the Secretary General about what he'd been told and the actions he intended to take.
So he was given a list of these 12
He was,
accused.
as I've said repeatedly, they were giving information regarding those staff members.
And has the U.S. seen this list? Have they let
You
you know?
have to ask the United States what they've seen and what they haven't seen. But I can tell you that Mr. Lazzarini also briefed the U.S. and other key donors on the developments before we made the announcement, so there would be no surprise in a number of capitals.
Okay, so the UN made the announcement, I believe it was Friday morning, or was it Thursday night?
I believe I did it Friday from here. The announcement was made Friday morning. We had a statement, and then I repeated it here in this room.
Okay, but why did the UN wait 4 days to make this announcement?
Because this is an extremely serious situation with grave impact and grave repercussions, and we're seeing it now. So it was very important for Mr. Lazzarini and the UNRWA leadership to ensure that things were done seriously, in a particular order, and that people were briefed, key donors were briefed, that the Secretary General was briefed, and so he acted quickly, but he also took the time to ensure that a number of steps were taken.
So there was no coincidence between the UN releasing this information on the same day that the ICJ ruling came out?
We have no control over the calendar of the ICJ. We did things as we thought it was the most appropriate to do in the most transparent manner that is possible for us. Abdel Hamid, and then we'll go back to the room. I cannot
Thank you,
hear
Stefan.
Oh,
I
go
just
ahead.
want to ask
Yep.
one question. Where is Tor Winsland all this time?
Mr. Veneslan is in Jerusalem, and he is working, and I expect him to be here probably at some point in the next early in the first 2 weeks of the month. You will get a briefing. I failed to mention the lead that Ambassador Carolyn Rodrigues-Birkett of Guyana will be here to brief you at 1 o'clock on the program of work. You'll see a Middle East briefing. We expect Mr. Veneslan to be here in person. The fact that he is, like many of our envoys and special representatives, the fact that they are not in the media, speaking to camera, giving quotes, does not mean they are not working. Your other question?
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Yes, Ephraim.
Hello, Steph. Just wondering if you've seen the report from Sky News that the number of the UNRWA employees, who was originally 12 UNRWA employees allegedly accused of being part of October 7 attack, now it's being brought down to 6. Have you heard of that?
I've seen the reports. There's a lot of...
Are they 12 or 6?
There's a lot of information that seems to be shared with the media that may not be shared with UNRWA. UNRWA acted on the information it was given based on their own feeling of confirmation that of the veracity of the information. There's a lot of other dossiers and reports that are coming out. We would welcome any sharing of any written information. Let's go to James, because I think I don't want to miss his memory.
No, it might pass again. No, a follow-up, though, on that.
Yeah.
You must know how many people you dismissed, 6 or 12?
12. I mean, the statement, I would refer you to the UNRWA statement. It talked about 12, and that was what impacted the 12 names.
Because one is not even alive, apparently.
No.
Can you check with UNRWA? Because
I can check. I would refer, excuse me, I would refer you to what the original statement from UNRWA, which was very clear and still stands. And UNRWA based its information on the information that was shared with them at the time.
Okay. One more quick follow-up before I remember my question. And the quick follow-up is Mr. Wennesland. Can he please come into this room and do a press briefing with us?
We will ask.
Okay. My question, a new draft resolution, an early draft, we're told, has been circulated by Algeria, again calling for a ceasefire in Gaza, circulated to the Security Council. As Security Council members look at this draft, what would the Secretary General's message be to the 15 members?
I mean, I want to press the pre-record button, right? The message is one of unity. The message is one of support from the Secretary. The Secretary General has been calling for a humanitarian ceasefire. That's what he would like. He would like to see unity from the Council on this issue. Margaret.
Guyana will take the presidency of the UN Security Council for the month of February.
And of the media, thank you for joining us for the press conference. Those of you who are joining us here in the room, as well as those who we have with us virtually. My name is Trishala Prasad. I'm the Deputy Permanent Representative for the Guyana Mission and the media focal point for our Security Council team. Today, as you're aware, Guyana assumed the presidency of the Security Council for the month of February. And in keeping with the tradition, Ambassador Carolyn Rodrigues-Birkett, Permanent Representative of Guyana to the UN, and this month's President of the Security Council will brief you on the program of work, which was adopted this morning. And with us also is our political coordinator, Ms. Nishanta Ben. After the briefing, I will open the floor for questions. So now, Ambassador Rodrigues-Birkett.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, and let me also join in welcoming you to this press conference. I'm pleased to be here to present to you February's program of work of the United Nations Security Council. Before doing so, I would just like to indicate how we intend to approach our presidency in relation to the working methods. As President of the Security Council, Guyana will promote enhanced transparency, efficiency, effectiveness, and inclusiveness in the Council's work. We also commit to adopting a consensus-building approach and to executing our mandate in full collaboration with all Council members. We will also seek to include a gender perspective in meetings as far as appropriate, in keeping with our commitments to the women, peace and security, We are thankful for the guidance and advice that we have received from fellow Council members and for the steady support that has been provided to us by the Secretariat. Now for the program of work. I understand that you are already in possession of the program of work, which has just been adopted by the Council. We have a very busy month ahead with many important matters demanding the Council's attention. On the program are all the mandated meetings for the month and our signature event. As you are aware, the program of work does not represent the totality of all the meetings that will be held in February. We expect additional meetings, including on Ukraine and Myanmar, and on other matters as they arise. Of course, the war in Gaza will remain a priority. There will be 16 mandated meetings, including on UNAMI, Somalia, UNSMIL, MINUSCA, Syria, Yemen, Afghanistan, and the situation in the Middle East. On the 15th of February, we will have the annual briefing on threats to international peace and security caused by terrorist acts, based on the Secretary General's strategic level report on the threat posed by ISIL. There is one adoption scheduled for the month, the renewal of the mandate of the panel of experts of the 1591 Sanction Committee concerning Sudan. Also during this month, the Council will undertake a field visit to Colombia within the context of Resolution 2704. The mission will be co-led by the United Kingdom, Switzerland, and the Presidency Guyana. Turning to our signature event, on the 13th of February, we will host a high-level open debate focusing on the impact of climate change and food insecurity on the maintenance of international peace and security. The meeting will be chaired by the President of Guyana, His Excellency Dr. Mohamed Irfan Ali. Our Foreign Minister, Honorable Hugh Todd, will also be here for the meeting. The topic chosen is one that Guyana attaches high importance to. The meeting will examine the dynamic relationship between climate change, food insecurity, and conflicts within the context of maintaining international peace and security. We anticipate a very rich discussion given the interest in this topic by many council members, but also by the wider United Nations membership. And Guyana intends to provide a summary of that event following its conclusion. The meeting will see the presence of the Secretary General. We also have 3 briefers in the persons of the head of the Executive Secretary of the United Framework Convention on Climate Change, the Deputy Director General of the Food and Agriculture Organization, and 1 civil society briefer. We are grateful that they have accepted our invitation to brief the Council. As mentioned earlier, we do not expect that this program of work will remain as it is now, given the many issues that is attracting the Council's attention, and we do intend to keep you apprised of any updates through weekly emails to the UN Press Corps. Additionally, my mission remains available if you have any questions for the Presidency or for me in my national capacity. And I now open the floor for any questions you may have on the program of work.
Thank you, Ambassador, and we'll start over here.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Ambassador, on behalf of the United Nations Correspondent Association for this briefing, and we wish you the best of luck for the busy month ahead. My question is on Venezuela. Are you planning to bring to the Security Council attention the issue of Venezuela that wanted to annex the Guyana region in a referendum? There will be a possible debate on that, discussion of sanctions or any other steps. Thank you so much. It's Valeria Rebecca from Ansa Newswire, sorry.
Thank you, Valeria. In my capacity as President of the Council, I can say that Venezuela is not on the program of work. In my national capacity, I can say that Guyana has not requested a meeting on Venezuela.
I'll take the question here.
James Bayes from Al Jazeera. I'd like to ask you 2 related questions related to Gaza and the wider problems in the Middle East region. First, you could welcome to answer these as President or probably more interestingly in your national capacity. There's now, we believe, an early draft of from Algeria of a resolution again on a ceasefire. In your view, what do you think are the chances of getting that much needed ceasefire for Gaza during this month when you are presiding over the Security Council? And secondly, as you know, there was that attack on a US base with 3 US service personnel killed. The US is now planning, we're told, a extensive military response to that attack on that base in Jordan close to the Syria border. How worried are you that this could just lead to further escalation in the region?
Thank you, James. We are aware that a draft resolution is being discussed. I can tell you that in our national capacity, we intend to adopt a constructive approach towards the resolution. On the other question you ask, I can say again, in my national capacity, we are concerned about spillovers based on what is happening in Gaza. I would expect that the U.S. would be more appropriate to answer the other part of the question. Thank you.
Hello, Ambassador. I'm Margaret Bashir with Voice of America. Good luck this month. I would like to ask you about Haiti, especially because Guyana is the chair of CARICOM also for the next 6 months. Your president has said regional security is a key priority. So what is Guyana going to do in the Security Council to get this multinational force deployed, especially since we've seen now an obstacle arise in Kenya with the High Court decision?
Thank you very much for the question. Haiti is one of the priorities for sure for our region, for Guyana, and for the Caribbean community. As you know, the multinational support mission is a non-UN mission, but nevertheless, the Security Council is seized of this matter. We have seen that the Kenyan government has decided to appeal the decision, and we are hoping to, as we go along this month, to have an update at the appropriate time. But we are concerned, and I can say that for Guyana, in our national capacity, with the growing challenges in Haiti and the dire humanitarian situation. But the work of the Eminent Persons Group of CARICOM continues in terms of the political tract.
And just, has CARICOM gotten any more regional countries interested in contributing to the force?
At this point in time, we are advised that the countries that have indicated their participation would be the Bahamas, Antigua and Barbuda, and Jamaica.
Thank you very much, Madam Ambassador. Edith Lederer from the Associated Press. First, a follow-up on the possibility of another ceasefire resolution. You said Guyana would take a constructive approach. Could you expand on what exactly that means? And secondly, February 24th is the second anniversary of the Russian invasion of Ukraine. Is the Security Council planning anything to mark that occasion, any kind of meeting, any kind of outcome document? Thank you.
Thank you for your question. Let me answer on Gaza in my national capacity. Guyana has called for a ceasefire, and Guyana will continue to call for a ceasefire in Gaza. We believe that we should not wait another day for that. And this is why I said we will be constructive in the resolution, and hopefully we would be able to have a resolution. On Ukraine, I can confirm that there will be a meeting. We are finalizing the date at this point in time. On product, we do not foresee one at this point in time.
Do you expect any senior officials from Ukraine to come to the United Nations for that meeting whenever it's scheduled?
We do not have that information as yet, but we believe we will be informed in the coming days.
Thank you, Ambassador. So my name is Yu from Kyodo News, Japanese media. So I have two questions. So one is you mentioned about the meeting of Myanmar. So could you give me more details? And then second question is about the North Korea, DPRK. So are you ready for the meeting about the North Korea, DPRK? What do you think about the issue? So.
We will be attentive to all the requests of Security Council members for various meetings. I can confirm that the meeting on Myanmar will take place in the first week.
Sorry. Thank you very much, Ambassador. On February 13th, your high-level meeting, are you going to have a product, a statement, a resolution? And secondly, could you give me some details on what you're doing on Myanmar?
Thank you. In terms of a product, as you know, it's still a very complex situation, discussing at least half of the topic, the part on climate. But we believe it's a very important topic for most of the UN membership, and so this is why I indicated we will do a summary, and hopefully in the future we can have a product, and I speak there in my national capacity. On Myanmar, the meeting will take place, and we will see where we go from there.
What kind of an agenda at the meeting? Just a general discussion on Myanmar? And also, I'm sorry, I didn't introduce myself. It's Evelyn Leopold, Globetrotter Media and Passport.
Thank you. We understand that there's work is ongoing by the ASEAN Special Envoy, and so we will be having a report from him.
Thank you so much, Ambassador. My name is Ephraim Kosaifi from Arab News Daily. A bit of a wider question, please. As a representative of a country that has suffered under colonialism and has a history with that struggle, how is that past and history informing today your foreign policy and your role on the Council? How does it feel to be in the same room now with the former colonizer? And what is your message if you feel any connections with what's happening in Palestine today? And if so, what's your message to Palestinians and Israelis? Thank you.
Thank you. Yes, we do have a colonial past. We like to consider ourselves friends with everyone. As a small state, we bring to the Council what we have always practiced and held true to, and that is our principles. And also, in terms of Palestine, Guyana is actually a founding member of the Committee on the Inalienable Rights of the Palestinian People, and we have continuously advocated for the two-state solution. And we believe that this is the ultimate solution in the crisis that we face right now. And while what we see is unprecedented, we also believe that there's opportunity in this to move forward that process. I would say to our Palestinian brothers and sisters and to our Israeli brothers and sisters that we hope that even though at this point in time we see disaster and destruction in Gaza, and we see the wider complications of this in Palestine, we would like to see Israel and Palestine living side by side in peace and security and in harmony. We believe it is time.
Yes, Madam the Ambassador, Javier Otazu from FN Newswire. Last December, the Security Council held a meeting on your conflict with Venezuela, Essequibo. And how come you are not taking advantage of your presidency to bring again the subject to the Council, or maybe you consider that the conflict is over or on the right track?
Let me say that when we decided to put forward our candidacy for the Security Council. It's because we believe as a small state, especially from the group of small island developing states, that we can bring a unique perspective to the Council. And at that time, just 12 years ago, Venezuela was one of the first countries, the government of Venezuela, to support our candidacy. We decided that it was necessary for us to inform the Council in December of what was happening between our two countries, given the narratives, the worrying narratives that was coming out at that time from Venezuela, and given the responsibility of the Council for International Peace and Security, we thought it important to inform the Council. At this point in time, we do not believe that it is a matter that we need to bring to the Council again. I should inform that following that Council meeting, there was a meeting in St. Vincent and the Grenadines, and Guyana and Venezuela signed an agreement. And part of that agreement is for a joint commission to discuss issues that are consequential. Of course, the matter is in the hands of the ICJ. The land border matter is in the hands of the ICJ, but consequential matters relating to our cooperation with Venezuela as a neighbor is included in that joint commission where those issues would be discussed, and a first meeting was held already.
Thank you. If we could, before I get to the all remaining questions in the room, if we could go online, we have Iftikhar Ali. You have the floor.
Mr. Iftikhar Ali.
If there is an issue with the audio, maybe we can go to the second person online, who is Abdel Hamid Siam. It doesn't give your designation. If you could indicate, that would be helpful. Thank you. Could we have volume for the questions for our technical team? Thank you. It seems that there is difficulty in us hearing those questions, so we'll go back to the room and see if that can be fixed. We'll take the question there first. If you could identify. The lady behind.
Thank you. My name is Ibtisam Azim Al Arabi Al Jadid newspaper. My question is about some breaking news that coming out from the Qatari Foreign Ministry. A spokesperson that's saying that Israel agreed to a ceasefire proposal, and we have initial positive confirmation from Hamas. My question here first, do you have any comments on that, and do you believe that such an agreement should come also in front of the Security Council, that should be discussed in details? Thank you very much.
We do not have any information. Ghana does not have any information as that. As you said, it just came out. But let me say that if there's a ceasefire, we certainly welcome that. Well, as I mentioned earlier, in fact, as was mentioned earlier, there is a draft resolution that is being discussed, and we will see how that will progress in light of this new information that you just provided.
We have a question.
Thank you, Ambassador Murad Hashim, Al Jazeera Arabic. What's your position regarding the human rights violations in Gaza and West Bank? And do you support a rule on this matter by ICC and ICJ?
We have consistently called, of course, in our national capacity, for the respect for international law, international humanitarian law, and of course human rights, and we will continue to do so. On the matter of the ICJ, we welcome the provisional measures of the ICJ, and we look forward to the consideration of the larger matter as we go forward. We understand that that will take some years. but we are concerned of the overall situation in Gaza, of the women and children that have died, of everyone that is suffering in Gaza.
Thank you, Ambassador.
Try again.
Go ahead. Stefano Vaccara, La Voce di New York and Ital Press. Are you satisfied with the way the Security Council is, is proceeding so far, or do you think a reform should be very urgent? And just recently, the Secretary General repeated that he thinks it's the time for a new permanent seat for Africa. And what do you think about new permanent seats?
In my national capacity, we believe Security Council reform is urgent. And it may sound hollow because we've been saying this for the past 3 decades or so, but we believe that it is. Guyana supports the common African position. We believe that it's a historical injustice that should be made right. And so we support Africa having a permanent seat on the council. I should indicate that this is also the position of many CARICOM countries as well. We also advocate for a rotating seat on the council, non-permanent seat for small island developing states. We believe that they bring a unique perspective, especially being on the front lines of climate change. And as we spoke about earlier, the impacts of climate change on the maintenance and peace and security is something that we must continue to consider. And so, yes, we believe that the reform of the Security Council should not wait.
Before I go to the hands I see in the room, I think we'll try again with those who are online. If we could see if Mr. Iftikhar Ali, if we can hear you now. Yeah, still not able to hear you. I'm not sure if you're on mute. We did have a second request online, which is Mr. Abdel Hamid.
Can you hear me?
We're hearing you. Go ahead, please.
Oh, great. Thank you so much. Thank you, Madam President. I have few questions. And my first question about visiting Gaza by the Security Council. Last December, the ambassador of the United Arab Emirates took a delegation to the Rafah crossing, but they didn't cross to Gaza. Would you consider taking a group of members of the Security Council, or suggest at least, to visit Gaza and see for yourself atrocities and genocide in the making? That's my first question. And the second, there are now floating ideas to recognize Palestine as a full independent sovereign state in the UN. What is the position of your country if this issue came to the forefront of the Security Council during your membership? And finally, I don't want to take much of your time, but if you can tell me, would you work with the non-permanent members to form some kind of common ideas of the 10 elected members to influence the outcome of the Security Council resolutions and the statements, and not to leave it only to the permanent 5? Thank you very much for your patience and accepting my 3 questions.
Thank you very much. There is no plan at this time to visit Gaza, but I can say in my national capacity, this is something we would welcome when it is appropriate for us to do so, and when the security allows us to do that as well. In terms of Palestine as a sovereign state, and should that be considered here, Guyana will certainly support that, as we have advocated for this for many, many years. And in terms of the elected members working together, we try to do this all the time, but also as the council as a whole. And we will always adopt a constructive approach to whatever is before us, always keeping in mind that we're there to contribute to the maintenance of international peace and security.
Thank you.
This is Arun Lewis from Indo-Asian News Service. I see that you have a private meeting set up for Afghanistan, and you said that one of your main priorities is gender issue, and I see that pretty much reflected very prominently right here on the podium. Would you consider taking any further steps on Afghanistan, especially on the gender issue and related matters of human rights? Thank you.
Yes, as I mentioned earlier, the meeting will take place, and in my national capacity, Guyana has made certain commitments to the WPS agenda, and whichever file we're looking at, we also look at it through a WPS lens as well. Thank you.
Oh, thank you. My name is Sinan. I'm with Rudal Media Network, a Kurdish outlet. My question is about Iran. Iran has been attacking, Iran killed civilians in Pakistan a few weeks ago and in Kurdistan region of Iraq, and a few days ago they killed 3 American soldiers in Jordan. So I wonder if you have any message for Iran, and what would you like to say about this escalation also? Any comment on that?
I think I have a message for everyone that we just need to make this world a better place, safer, more prosperous for all our people.
Thanks, Ambassador. It's Margaret again. I just wanted to follow up on the Afghanistan meeting. What will the topic actually be, and why is it a private meeting? I assume that's in part so the Chargé can attend, but could you explain to us what the subject is?
Actually, as you would recall, there was a resolution that was passed, and the Secretary General is expected to report within 60 days on his meetings with the various envoys there. And so that report will be considered.
Could I just ask you one question in your national capacity? Where are your talks at with the United States in terms of strengthening your military?
We have very good relations with the United States on many matters. The United States is our largest trading partner, and our largest diaspora actually reside in the United States. So we have cooperation on a number of issues for many, many years.
But there was supposed to be some new military cooperation, I believe, following last year's incident with Venezuela.
We have had these types of cooperations with the United States and several other countries, and I think those continue. So what you see us doing right now is part of that program that we have, and every year, of course, we perhaps add to that cooperation as well.
Thank you very much, Madam Ambassador. I just wanted to say, and I'm sure all my colleagues agree, we would greatly appreciate it if you came to the stakeout after all the meetings and at least gave us a rundown on what happened and your view. Thank you.
Thank you. We'll consider that.
As you're taking second questions very kindly, I'm going to ask another one, and again it's going to be about Gaza. At the end of last year, there were, despite all the efforts to get a ceasefire, there were 2 resolutions passed. Both of them said that the humanitarian aid needed to be scaled up. You listened yesterday to Martin Griffiths in the Council, and he made it very clear that's not happening. And he also made it clear that part of the reason is Israel, that Israel is taking items out of the aid, is blocking convoys coming in, is not allowing all the crossing points the UN would like. Is Israel complying with those 2 resolutions, and if not, what action can be taken?
The information we have, and I speak here in my national capacity, is that for those 2 resolutions to be implemented, you need a ceasefire. And this is why we continue to call for this. We are very, very concerned about the humanitarian situation and the access to aid, because in some cases what we know is there is aid, but access is the problem. Getting it to the people who really need it. But yes, what we have before us is that those two resolutions cannot be fully implemented, and also the provisional measures of the ICJ, unless there's a ceasefire.
We will take two final questions, unless there are no more. Maybe we can give Mr. Iftikhar Ali a final try. See, sir, if we can hear you this time. I know you've been trying really hard to get your question in.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah. Yes, we can.
Thank you, Madam Ambassador. I'm sorry, I'm the last one to get the question, but by now all my questions have been answered. The Security Council reform, Gaza, and Afghanistan. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
I have a final question, can I?
Yes,
go ahead.
Okay. Thank you very much again. I mean, Palestinians have been under occupation. Occupation is illegal, as you know. International law supports people under occupation to resist occupation. Why, when Palestinians resist occupation, they are labeled as terrorists? But when the Ukrainians resist occupation, they are labeled as heroes. Do you see the double standard in the international community in this labeling of both sides doing the same thing? Thank you.
It's a concern for us. Thank you.
And I see no further questions in the room, so I just want to say thank you for your very many questions and also for your interest.
This show has been produced by Depictions Media. Please contact us at depictions.media for more information.